Story 1, my son confessed to murdering people. I'm 33, and my son's 18. People give me weird looks when they hear that. When James and I go out, folks often ask if he's my little brother. These 18 years haven't been easy, but I like to think I did my best given the circumstances. Back in high school, my girlfriend got pregnant. Her parents wanted to put the baby up for adoption, but my mom stepped in and helped me get custody. James is a straight-A student, plays point guard on his school's basketball team, and I saved up enough to get him a decent car. He's popular at school. Unlike me at his age, I was raising a 2-year-old, had a high school diploma, and worked at the local Pella factory. We live in a 2-bedroom duplex a couple blocks from his school. He does his homework without nagging and spends his free time with friends or destroying me at Call of Duty in the living room. At one point, I wondered if he might be into guys. I didn't care, but it seemed odd he never dated girls at his age. When I asked, he grinned and said, "Nah, Dad, I just want to wait a bit before getting into relationships. I don't want you to be a grandpa in your 30s. That was the end of our birds and bees talk. With the internet and the sex ed classes I signed him up for, I figured he knew the basics. A couple months ago, he said he'd be out late. When I asked why, he said he had a date. I didn't cry, slipped him $100 and told him to be back by breakfast. He's a good kid, and I trusted him. It became a pattern. Friday afternoons, he'd say he'd be out late, and by Saturday morning, he was always on the couch playing Xbox. I never met his girls, but I figured he wasn't ready to introduce them. Like I said, I trusted him. He's got a good head on his shoulders, so I had no reason to suspect anything. I don't usually watch the news, social media's enough for me. But one evening, I flipped on the TV at 5 p.m. Wish I hadn't. After a commercial, the anchor, looking grim, said, "Several women in the county are still missing. Police are searching for clues to determine if these disappearances are connected." We live in a quiet little town, so the idea of this happening so close to home shook me. Knowing James was out at night scared me even more. I talked to him about it, and he told me not to worry. James is a big guy, nearly 6 feet 6 inches, broad build, so I wasn't worried about someone jumping him. But as a big guy myself, I know size doesn't matter against a gun. He assured me he was fine, but just to be safe, I grabbed his phone while he slept and installed a tracking app in hidden mode. Call me paranoid, but I remembered feeling invincible at 17. I figured if I ever got worried while he was out, I'd check the app, see he's fine, and go back to Netflix. I started following the missing women case online. It was turning into a media frenzy. Over 10 weeks, 6 women vanished, different ages and appearances. No bodies were found, but police suspected murder. When the 7th woman went missing, my heart sank. I hadn't seen Rochelle in 10 years. She came back into our lives when James was about 7, trying to play mom, but it didn't work out. After months of empty promises and missed visits, I got a court order for a drug test, which she failed, and my lawyer had her visitation rights revoked. I didn't want James dealing with that. That Saturday morning, I dreaded going downstairs. We rarely talked about his mom. After he was born, she spiraled, trading her body for any drug she could get. By the time she tried reconnecting, she looked 20 years older, track marks on her arms, teeth black and rotting. Honestly, I was shocked she was still alive. With a heavy heart, I told James in the living room, "Son, we need to talk about your mom." He sighed, paused his game, and asked, "What did she do now?" I said, "She went missing last night. Police say there were signs of a struggle at her trailer." He stared through the TV, unpaused his game, and said, "That's not news, is it?" We didn't talk about her much because he hated it. One reason I got a lawyer was because during one visit, she took him to her place. While he sat on her couch, her clients came by, paying $20 to hook up with her while James was right there. After 3 hours, some guy named Steven drove him home. James was sitting outside, no jacket, when I got back from work. He said his mom didn't want him coming back. He'd been out there for 4 hours, anything could have happened. I got him into therapy right after, and over time, he seemed okay. He only asked about her once every couple months. After that incident, he mentioned her just once. The next week, he said he had another date. That night, my anxiety got the better of me, and I checked the tracking app. He went to a random address across town, then out to some remote area. I hadn't thought much about the app since installing it, but it had been logging his movements. Over 6 weeks, he'd been to that remote spot at least 4 times, including the night Rochelle disappeared, when he was at her trailer. I felt sick but refused to believe the obvious. I tossed my phone on the bed, grabbed a bottle of whiskey from the nightstand, and drank until I passed out. The next morning, hungover, I saw James downstairs playing Dark Souls. I chugged a Red Bull, stumbled to my car, and drove to that remote spot to see where he was taking his dates. I regret it so much. The GPS led me to a rundown gravel road, thick forest on both sides. About 200 yards in, I hit a clearing with a small pond and got out. Near the pond was a fire pit with warm ashes. I exhaled, thinking, my son found a quiet spot to impress girls under the stars. I was almost proud until I saw drag marks leading to the pond, like something heavy had been pulled. I stepped to the edge, stared into the murky water, and noticed bloodstains on the grass behind me. Cautiously, I waded in. A few feet from shore, I stepped on something solid, reached down, and felt a heavy logging chain. I pulled it up, revealing a body wrapped in a blanket. I peeled back the fabric and saw a bloated face, Rochelle. I quickly rewrapped her, sank her deeper, and ran to my car. I sat in the driveway for 15 minutes, heart pounding, tears streaming, trying to come up with 50 conspiracy theories to explain why my son wasn't involved. Was this a panic attack or a heart attack? James knocked on my car window, startling me. I shakily got out, and he hugged me, saying, "Whatever it is, it's okay, Dad. Just tell me what happened." For a moment, I forgot the pond, his mom's body. I followed him inside, changed into dry clothes, and joined him in the living room. I sat in my recliner, he was on the couch. We sat in silence for minutes. Staring at the floor, I said, "I found your mom." His reaction floored me, no shock, no anger, just the same blank look he gets when I catch him doing something wrong. I looked him in the eye and said, "Tell me you didn't do anything stupid, son." He looked away and said, "What do you mean by stupid?" I raised my voice. "God damn it, James, did you kill your mom?" He laughed and said, "That expletive was dead long before I smashed her head and dragged her to the car. Any expletive who'd sell her son for a hit has been dead for years." I was speechless. I'd always wondered about that night at her place, but he never talked about it. He continued, "You know, I got lucky. The expletive who paid for me drove me home and told me never to go back. It could have been worse, but that day broke me. I realized how meaningless life is. Of course I killed her. She deserved to die 6 times over." My eyes filled with tears as he confessed to over 15 murders, detailing everything. I just sat there, stunned. What could I say? My son admitted he's a serial killer, and all I could think was, how do I keep this from ruining his life? Finally, I mustered, "We need to get you help, son. This isn't healthy." He cut me off. "No therapist can help me, Dad. You were a good father, so I'll spare you the hassle. We both know I turn 18 in a month. I'll be out of your hair." I looked at him, trying to see the monster he'd become. For 17 years, I raised him, but I never imagined he was this broken. A week later, I quit my job. By his 18th birthday, I'd blown most of my savings on booze, trying to forget what I knew. The day after his birthday, he was gone. My last shred of hope died weeks later when police found the bodies in the pond. By then, he was long gone. A few weeks ago, I got a postcard with a sandy beach photo. On the back, "Hey Dad, just wanted to say I'm okay." I tossed it on the entry table and went back to my bottle. Part of me wants to go to the police, but he's my son. I do a lot, but turning him in for crimes that could mean the death penalty feels beyond my civic duty. The guilt gets heavier every week. All I can hope is he's really okay and that he's stopped killing. He was such a good kid, tall, charismatic. He could have done so much if he'd wanted to. My take, holy crap, this is chilling. What would you do as the dad? Turn him in or stay silent? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let me know if you like these creepy story videos, realistic ones or totally out there ones. Story 2, I shared a cell with the world's most unknown serial killer. Hey, I'm an ex-con, not great with computers, but I stumbled on this site and love reading everyone's stories, so here's mine. I did 10 years in prison from 2001 to 2011, and I might have met the world's most unknown serial killer. It was 2011, with about 6 months left on my sentence. I won't name him for obvious reasons, but we shared a cell for those last 6 months. He was in for fraud 3 years, maybe more, I don't recall. He was about 60, skinny, wore glasses, always had a book. On the yard, he played chess and supposedly never lost. At first, we didn't talk much, but after I mentioned I was getting out soon and struggling with paperwork, I'm not great at writing, he helped me out. I was grateful, and we got friendlier. The night before my release, though, he told me his story. I'd scored some hooch, and we got drunk, swapping stories like you do in prison, mostly bravado and BS. We were pretty lit when he dropped his tale. Like you, I thought it was nonsense, drunken ramblings. But after I got out, I learned some things. That night, he claimed he killed 155 people from 1970 to 2010, starting at 23, though he knew it was his calling at 15, like being a priest. His specialty? Highways, especially rest stops. He'd wait in the dark for someone to pull in. Fridays were his favorite easy targets, like drunks passed out in their cars after chugging beers, trying to sleep it off before cops caught them. He'd watch them sleep, heads back, mouths open. He said cruising the country for drunks got too easy, boring. So he moved to couples, especially college kids, young, in love, with their whole lives ahead. He got a sick thrill from stealing that potential. They'd pull into rest stops to hook up, and he'd watch from the shadows before striking. He recorded news reports afterward, loved watching the segments with smiling blonde victims, candlelight vigils, crying parents, and teachers who barely knew the kid but talked about their potential. He'd organize the clips and rewatch his favorites with pizza and wine, reliving each kill. I didn't believe a word, who would? We were drunk, and it creeped me out. I wanted to punch him, but I was getting out in the morning, and he knew it. I later realized that's why he told me, taunting me, knowing I couldn't do anything. The last part of his story stuck with me. In the 90s, a girl named Alicia was killed, a big case everyone knew. Google it, you'll find it. That night, he claimed he did it and asked if I wanted to know where her body was buried. I called him a sick expletive, but he told me the location anyway, grinning like he'd been toying with me, waiting for that night to spill it all. The next morning, he just stared at me with dead eyes as I left the cell. I've been around killers and gangbangers my whole life, but that look was something else. It still haunts me when I close my eyes, those cold, dark eyes. For 6 months after getting out, I obsessed over what he said about Alicia's case, Googling details at night, cross-referencing his story. It got so bad I had major anxiety. I'd never go to the cops, I'm old school, but it eats at me. I think he was lying, just venting crazy talk. Thanks for reading my story, it helps with my anxiety. I'm excited to read more of yours. God bless. My take, that's wild. Do you think he was telling the truth or just messing with him? What would you do with that info? Drop your thoughts below. Story 3, I met a serial killer at a gas station. This happened in the summer of 2006 when I was 20. I'd just gotten my license in January, and driving opened up so many possibilities. I'd take solo road trips to visit friends in other states. I looked younger than my age, people often thought I was still in high school. One random July day, I was driving alone to a friend's place in southern Pennsylvania for a long weekend. Her parents were out, so we had the house to ourselves, planning to drink, chill in the hot tub, watch Planet Earth, it had just come out, and maybe run through cornfields at night. I was pumped, blasting good music, enjoying perfect road trip weather. Right after crossing from New Jersey into Pennsylvania, I stopped at one of the first gas stations off I-78 West to fuel up and grab snacks for the drive. I've tried to figure out which station it was but never could. It had a big convenience store, with an exit back to the highway and a dirt road running parallel. As I headed to the store, a guy approached me, late 30s to early 40s, stocky, tall, I'm 5 feet 1 inch, in a black t-shirt and jeans, with dark brown hair, a mustache, and a goatee. He got out of a black pickup parked a few spaces from my car. His vibe was off, crazy, piercing eyes that gave me chills. He stood too close, stared too hard, talked weirdly. My gut screamed danger. He asked if I was local, my car had Connecticut plates, where I was going, and if I knew fun things to do since he had time to kill before plans later. He invited me to play mini-golf and see a movie. I didn't answer, said I wasn't from around here, and headed to the store. It was so random and creepy that he'd ask me out like that. As I walked away, he yelled, "You're so hot." So loud and aggressive it startled a family leaving the store. Goosebumps everywhere. I didn't look back, went inside, and hid in the bathroom for 10 minutes, texting my friend about this weirdo. When I came out, he was gone. I grabbed my road trip staples, sour gummy worms, trail mix, and a drink, relieved his truck was no longer there. But as I pulled onto the road to the highway, I heard frantic honking. It was him, on that dirt road parallel to the exit, honking, yelling, waving me over. He was positioned to watch the station, clearly waiting for me. I panicked, floored it onto the highway, and called my friend. I drove so fast I'm lucky I didn't crash. He followed me for a bit but turned off after a couple exits. My friend and I had a plan. If I saw his truck again, I'd head to a police station in the next town, not her house, so he couldn't find us. Thankfully, I didn't see him again, but I was on edge the rest of the drive, checking my mirrors constantly. The weekend ended up being great, and I didn't think much about the incident afterward. In 2014, I was chatting with a friend obsessed with serial killer cases. She jokingly said I might have met one. I told her the story, and she Googled active killers in Pennsylvania around that time. First result, Adam Leroy Lane. He matched the guy I saw almost exactly, 40-ish, tall, stocky, brown hair, mustache, goatee. My memory might have filled in some gaps, but the main details, age, build, hair, facial hair, time, and place, lined up. In my head, he was a bit slimmer, and this was 2006, not 2007, when Lane was convicted for murder. Still, it's a creepy coincidence I'll never forget. My take, that's terrifying. Do you think she dodged a serial killer, or was it just a creepy guy? Ever had a sketchy encounter like this? Share in the comments. Thanks for watching, check out our last video linked here, subscribe, and stay safe.